Hey. Today I'm going to lead you through the step-by-step process on how I made these animations, some crazy clocks, and this is going to be lots of fun.
Kinetic Type Series by Hulk79.
So here we are creating a new composition, and this is going to be our clock. And yeah, 1080 by 1080, our beloved square format. And then in duration, I think I'm going to go for 13 seconds. I don't know if should be 12 or 13, but I think 13. The number is going to be right for us, so okay. And now the first thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to close all these awful tabs here just by right clicking and going for close other timeline panels. That's more tidy. And then the first thing is I'm going to create the clock hand just with a shape layer here with the rectangle tool, and I'm going to do it just by eye. I'm going to change the color, and yeah, now is, this is right in a way because the anchor point is on the center, but let's do it wrong, so to say. And let's say that you create it like here, and yeah, the anchor point is there, which is fine. So it is a matter of coming here or clicking Y, which is like the shortcut for that, and then you click on the layer and you move it to wherever should be placed, like here. And then it's a matter of, with the alignment tools, aligning it to the center, both horizontally and vertically, but that doesn't work, so I'm going to move it. And yeah, the anchor point needs to be located on the center, like let's go very close, and there it is. Great. So first thing is kind of there. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller, and yeah, now I'm going to start animating it. So let's hit R to open the rotation property here, and I'm going to animate it just 12 times as it is only the hours, so very simplified version of a clock. So if I click here and write down 360 and divide it by 12 and hit enter, I'm going to have like the increments that I need just to create 12 motions. So the first one is going to be, and I'm going to open this because I want to see second by second the timeline. So at the second one it is going to be 30, like here. At 0 is going to be 0 obviously, and then at 2 is going to be double this, so I can multiply it, but you can do the math also, and so on and so forth. And that's that, you see. So now I want it to feel way more steppy, so I'm going to select all the keyframes like this, or you can also just click on the rotation property, and then it is a matter of right clicking, and we are going after the toggle hold keyframe option here. I click there, and you see that now it feels really like a real clock. So now the numbers, and the numbers is where the typographic animation starts. So let's create a text layer, and we need to start writing 1 to 12, but we need to give it a space between all the numbers, so 1 space, 2 space, 3. I'm going to close the tracking a little bit, and by the way, typeface is Grotex by this beautiful foundry here, Letter Settle. Okay, you are going to have the link on description. And yeah, now it is important this thing that we are doing with the spaces. And when it comes to the 10, to the numbers that are two figures, you need to write 1, then 0, then the space. Okay, now 1, 1, the space. This is important because we are going to treat these numbers as words in the text animator, and this is the way for it to work properly. So now, with the layer selected, we select the ellipse tool, and we are going to create one from the center here, just by holding on Control and Shift. Bada bing, that's great. Next step is very well known for us, so we go to text. In the path options, we go from none to selecting the ellipse that we just created. That's super cool. And then I'm going to start dealing with this, and in this case I need to reverse the path, set to on, and let's start playing with the first margin. Then we are going to start dealing with the tracking here. And again with the first margin, so you see that this is a very manual process, but we'll get there. So yeah, the 12 needs to be on top, not the 1, okay? So then it's a matter of fine-tuning this, so the 3 is on its place, for example. And then I'm going to start fine-tuning the whole thing just by working with the kerning. So to work with the kerning, there is a very nice trick, so that if you go and you click twice here on the text layer and you go, for example, let's say that we want to open the space between the 1 and the 2, I click here, and now it's a matter of holding on Alt or Option on a Mac, and with the right and left cursors we can start just dealing with the kerning there. So I'm going to close a lot the space between the two figure numbers, like the 12 here. Remember, Alt or Option on a Mac and right and left arrows. So that's kerning. Kerning is the distance between two specific characters or glyphs, and then we have the tracking that here that deals with the whole spacing between letters. So this is a very important control to have in mind. So I'm going to keep dealing with this to fine-tune everything so that the 3 falls here in the right place. And you know, that's a little bit, this is going to be a little bit tricky, but at the end it's a very straightforward process. So let me finish doing this. And one thing that maybe is better is if you set the text to aligned to the left, it's going to be easier to deal with the tracking and everything. So yeah, let's go from center aligned to left aligned, and that's going to make things way easier. So very manual process, but at the end you put some nice music on and you keep going, and I think you'll be fine. So it is not perfect, but I think we can start working on this. So you can keep adjusting it just by moving the timeline, and when it falls, for example, to the 4 and it is not aligned, you can keep going with this messing around with the tracking and kerning. I must say, very tedious process. Now the fun starts finally. So let's open the text layer here, and we are going to start adding a text animator. So let's go to the beginning with the timeline, the playhead, and we open the text animator. So we start creating one just by clicking here on the animate display. So let's say that I'm going to start doing something that deals with color here, with fill color. And remember that this is going to be only the start, but then we can add anything else to that text animator. So let's click here. And it is very important that we change in range selector in advanced the percentage to index, that's going to make things easier, because we are going to play with the offset just from 1 to 12, and then instead of characters it's going to be words. Okay, that's why we created some spaces between the numbers. So now the n should be at 1, and you can see that this is starting to work nicely. So we create one keyframe here in offset, and we go to second one, and that's correct there. Okay, we create another keyframe, just clicking here. At the beginning is going to be at -1, and then it is a matter of going to every second and incrementing it by 1, so that when the clock hand reaches that point, it is going to be animated. Okay, so let's keep going, and that's that. Now they are linear keyframes, and maybe that's what you want, that they start like changing the color gradually. But I'm going to select all of them. Also remember that you can click on the attribute here, and it's going to select all the keyframes on the timeline, and with right click I'm going to go again for toggle hold keyframe. So now we have the basic animation. Let's check that everything works nicely, and obviously you can fine-tune the kerning between the numbers so that this doesn't look like here so ugly, that is not aligned. So that would be a fine-tuning process that you would need to do. But now I think I'm going to keep adding, because in this text animator now the animation is set, so it has this fill color attribute, but I can keep adding stuff, more interesting stuff. For example, let's say that when the clock hand reaches the number, it changes the rotation, for example like 180. So look, this is cool. So it's kind of crazy, so that's what we are looking for, something that is unexpected. So we are kind of reinventing the clock in a way. So let's add another attribute here to this text animator. For example, let's say that we want it to be blurred, so that's kind of crazy, only in the x-axis, something like that. And maybe also we want it to be scaled, so that it's way bigger when the clock hand reaches it. So for example 200% or even more. So if we play this, you can see how interesting this is. So you have all these different options here to start playing. You have the animation set, so it is a matter of playing with the design of the clock. So you saw it was kind of tedious, it was a long process, but at the end when you reach this point, everything is very, very interesting to keep playing with. So I hope you went through all this tedious process, and then you can play with your own clock, or you create your own clock and you share it with all of us in Instagram or any place you want to do it. And yeah, remember that you have this Buy Me a Coffee, or I have this Buy Me a Coffee webpage where you can contribute if you feel like it. And thank you for following the tutorial, and see you in the next one.
Kinetic Type Series by Hulk 79.